Welcome, everyone, to Inspirational Bible Bites. This is episode number 1.
Episode number 1.
We're so glad you're here with us today to kick off this brand new podcast.
Yeah,
where we'll be doing a deep dive into Christian living, and we'll be exploring all sorts of everyday topics that matter to both men and the women.
absolutely.
For our very first deep dive,
Right?
we're tackling a subject that can sometimes spark
Yeah.
some strong feelings.
You can.
Interracial marriage.
Yeah.
You might be surprised to learn
Okay.
that the Bible's stance on this isn't as black and white
Right.
as some people might assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is that, throughout history,
Right.
people have often used the Bible to
Right.
justify their own cultural biases.
Yeah.
But when we really examine the text,
Yeah.
the picture becomes a lot more nuanced.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Right.
We often hear people pointing to verses in the Old Testament,
Yeah.
like Deuteronomy 7.34,
Mhm.
which seems to outright forbid interracial marriage.
Yeah.
What's the context there?
You're right. Those verses do exist.
Yeah.
But remember, they were given to the Israelites
Right.
thousands of years ago. They were surrounded by nations worshiping idols.
Yeah.
And intermarriage was seen as a direct threat
Right.
to their spiritual purity
Okay.
and their covenant with God.
So it wasn't about race itself,
Yeah.
but rather about preventing the Israelites
Yes.
from straying from their faith.
Exactly. The concern was idolatry.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Even today, we might warn a friend
Right.
against dating someone
Right.
whose lifestyle could lead them away from their faith.
Yeah.
It's not about judging that person, but about recognizing the potential influence they might have.
Right.
And we see that same concern
Yes,
reflected
sir.
in the Old Testament. Malachi 2.11
Yeah.
talks about how the Israelites were profaning the covenant by marrying people who worshipped other gods.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But then we get to the New Testament,
right.
and we encounter verses like 2 Corinthians 6.14,
Yeah.
which says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers.
Yeah.
That feels pretty similar.
It does, and some people interpret it as reinforcing that Old Testament prohibition.
You're right.
But if we look at the broader context of the New Testament,
Yeah.
the focus has shifted.
Okay.
It's not about physical nations anymore. It's about a spiritual distinction,
Right.
believers and unbelievers.
Yeah.
And even then, there's nowhere in the New Testament
Great.
where interracial marriage is explicitly condemned.
So what does the Bible emphasize
Yeah,
when it comes to choosing a spouse?
that's a great question.
What should Christians be prioritizing?
The Bible consistently emphasizes the importance of shared faith.
Okay.
John 3.3-5
Yeah.
tells us that being born again is essential for entering God's kingdom.
Right.
And this applies to everyone, regardless of their background.
So ultimately, a shared faith in Jesus Christ
Yeah.
should be the foundation of any Christian marriage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that idea is beautifully echoed
Okay.
in James 2.110.
Okay.
It explicitly condemns
Yeah.
showing favoritism
Yeah.
based on external factors.
Right.
It's not about judging someone's worth
Uh-huh.
based on their wealth or their ethnicity.
Right.
It's about seeing people through the lens of their character
Yeah.
and their heart.
You know, that reminds me of that famous quote by Martin Luther King Jr.,
Oh, yeah.
where he says, I look to a day
Yeah.
when people will not be judged by the color of their skin,
Yeah.
but by the content of their character. It's incredible
It's so true.
how much that aligns with the message we see in the Bible.
It really does. And it highlights that from
Yeah.
a biblical perspective.
Okay.
There's only one race.
Okay.
The human race.
Right?
We're all descendants of Adam and Eve
Right.
sharing a common ancestry.
Right. Before we go any further, I wanted to remind you
Yes.
to check out our YouTube channel,
Oh, yes.
Inspirational Bible Bites.
That's right.
You'll find lots of insightful videos there
Yeah.
that complement
Yeah.
our podcast discussions.
That's right.
Now let's get back to our deep dive.
All right.
Even though the Bible doesn't condemn interracial marriage,
Right.
we have to acknowledge
Yeah.
that couples might still face challenges
Yeah.
in a world
Yes.
where prejudice, unfortunately, still exists.
Right.
How can we reconcile that reality
Mm-hmm.
with what we're seeing in Scripture?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
And it raises the question,
Yeah.
how should Christian couples navigate those challenges?
Yeah.
I think the answer lies in love and grace.
Okay.
Just as Christ has shown us,
Right.
Hebrews 13.4
Right.
reminds us that marriage should be honored by all.
It's such a powerful reminder that societal pressures
Yeah.
and external opinions shouldn't dictate our commitment to living out biblical principles.
Exactly. And let's not forget that marriage itself is such a beautiful reflection of God's love for his people.
When I think about the incredible diversity we see within God's kingdom,
Yes.
it's hard not to feel inspired.
It is.
Romans 10:12 says, there is no difference between Jew and Gentile. The same Lord is Lord of all and richly blesses all who call on him.
Yes.
Doesn't that paint a beautiful picture of unity?
It really does.
Yeah.
And if we look at passages like Galatians 3:26-29 and Revelation 7:9, we see this breathtaking tapestry of people from every nation, every tribe, every tongue, all united in worship. Could there be a more powerful testament to that unity than a couple from different backgrounds coming together in a marriage grounded in their shared faith?
It's a beautiful image, celebrating our shared humanity while honoring God's design for marriage. So as we wrap up this first deep dive,
our first one,
the big takeaway is that the Bible encourages us to prioritize spiritual compatibility over racial or cultural background. When choosing a life partner,
that's right.
It's about seeking a shared faith journey.
Yes.
Not a shared skin tone.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I think that leaves us with an important question to ponder.
All right.
How can we celebrate the beautiful diversity of the human race within our own churches and communities while still upholding biblical principles?
That's such a powerful thought to leave our listeners with.
It is a journey of understanding grace and, most importantly, love.
And don't forget to subscribe to Inspirational Bible Bites.
Subscribe.
So you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes.
Yes.
We'll be back soon.
We will.
With more insightful Bible Bites to nourish your faith.
Yes.
And be sure to visit our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Inspirational Bible Bites. For even more content that will help you deepen your understanding of these important topics.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.